Time is one of those things that are constant, and it is how we use our time that determines our success. As Victor Hugo, the writer for Les Mis, states, "Where no plan is laid, where the disposal of time is surrendered merely to the chance of incidents, chaos will soon reign." My name is Linda, and in this presentation, Andre and myself will take you through how we use our time and how our time has been maximized with the help of one productivity app. We started by keeping track of how we spent our time without the intervention of a productivity app. Here, red indicates the time that I've spent on internet consumption, usually for social purposes, and we see that it is scattered pieces of time spent each day on internet consumption. And of course, this doesn't include all the times I've spent scrolling through my social media feed while riding the bus to and from work.
This is my Andre's time tracking experience. Overall, it was an abstract one. I'm not used to tracking my every movement. I found that most of my time was spent on schoolwork as well as regular work, trying to balance 3 jobs strewn throughout the day at random times. My problem area isn't one specific task, but instead the fact that a lot of my tasks are at awkward times to accommodate my schedule. For example, doing homework at every possible free half hour. Now that we've identified our problem areas, let's find a way to master our own time. We looked at an app called Clear Focus Productivity Timer. This simple app focuses around a countdown timer that the user sets for various tasks. This app then blocks out other distracting apps, but also forces the user to take preset breaks. It can currently only be found on Google's Android platform.
One of our favorite features of Clear Focus is the setting to block distracting apps. From the main page, the user can go to settings to disable the use of distracting applications. Now, enabling this function will require you to download a secondary app called Clear Lock. Upon opening Clear Lock, the user will encounter the image on the right, where they can scroll through to enable or disable different applications depending on the need of their project.
Now that we have some background on the app, let's see how it was put into practice. I used this app during several days of the following week, specifically throughout the tasks that were eating the most time, such as schoolwork. You'll notice the darker blue areas between 7:30 and 10ish on Monday strewn throughout the light blue parts. These are the relaxation points throughout the homework time. Also, some of my social time was replaced with personal relaxation time. Well, life improved not because I suddenly had more time, but instead because I had less time to do my work with all these breaks. The time I was working had become more focused due to the decreased distractions and refreshing breaks. This app is based on something called the Pomodoro technique, a style of working that times your work to break it into time blocks of super focus, then have 5-minute breaks in between. The longer you work, the longer your breaks become.
Now let's take a second to consider the setting at which this application has been used. Both Andre and myself have been teased by the lovely weather Toronto has been blessed with. We've all been trying to go to the Jays games, hang out at the park with our friends, while making sure we attend all our Adobe classes and finish all of our asynchronous work. This is a case that is all too familiar to pre- and in-service teachers. Let's consider the case of a typical teacher. They begin every semester poised and ready to take on every challenge. They're determined to use their fancy new agendas to write down every to-do item and every reminder for, but the next thing they know, they've gotten lost in all the lesson planning, pre-assessments, creating classroom profiles, and all the extracurricular involvements.
After implementing this app, our teacher case study should potentially improve. This app, as we've noted, is good for both short and long term. Short term wise here, teachers would still have to plan out their day's tasks as normal. However, in the long term, they can take the stats given by the app to see which tasks they've improved on the most. For example, in terms of marking, they can compare how long it takes to mark an assignment at the beginning of each unit, then see how efficient they become over the term. What about the modern classroom? Well, with BYOD programs beginning to pop up more often in addition to iPad programs, there could not be a more perfect time. Our modern classrooms are already cluttered with tech packed with distracting material. By using this app, students will be encouraged to make use of both their productivity time and their break times. It helps solve this issue of distractions in a classroom by both blocking them out and encouraging them when most appropriate.
In the classroom, we feel that this app will be most beneficial for students from the intermediate to senior age group. It allows for a sense of autonomy in creating your own desired time lengths for work sessions and breaks, while blocking out any distracting social apps that students of this age group can't seem to resist. The sense of autonomy and independence this app allows for in its users is also a constraint. Students will have to set their own reminders to use the app and strictly monitor themselves not to simply try to find another alternative source in which they can access distracting information, such as the computer or the TV.
One more potential downfall here is the app's availability. Unfortunately, at this time of presentation, it is only available on Android devices. This is fine for BYOD programs as they're relatively less expensive than Apple products. However, this would hinder its use within iPad card programs. Currently, just over half of all smart devices sold run using Android. In a worst case scenario, there are alternative Pomodoro-style apps available on Apple products as well. Enough with the constraints, let's look at some affordances. This app will help both students and teachers become masters of their own time above other management apps because it allows the use of statistics. Other apps in this market simply block other distractions. Clear Focus blocks and allows the user to track their productivity over time. Thus, they can measure if the Pomodoro method is truly working for them or not using user-generated data.
The ability for Clear Focus to generate statistic reports also means students can monitor their own progress in productivity over a semester. Educators can encourage the use of this app by developing friendly classroom competitions to determine the champion for productivity. Just as runners see their training come out in the final race, the students can see their own personal growth at the end of a semester. Another way in which this app is able to provide support in the classrooms is in its potential use for students with characteristics of attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder. This exceptionality, or characteristics of this exceptionality, is one of the most frequently seen behavioral problems in the classroom today. Students become easily distracted and have trouble focusing on one specific task at a time.
With learning exceptionalities such as ADHD, this app may enhance the student's ability to stay on task as they or their teacher even can set their own parameters on it as well as break times. By allowing a student who has trouble with focus to take dignified and trackable breaks, their success in the classroom environment has the potential to improve greatly.
A study conducted in 2012 looked at the use of assistive productivity apps in young doctors and medical students. This study found a high level of assistive app ownership in a random sample of 400 to support the education and clinical practice of these individuals. With the use of technology creeping into all careers of high stress to improve productivity and eliminate procrastination, why shouldn't we embrace it in education?
In conclusion, Clear Focus is an app that helped Linda and myself become more proactive with the time we were using, instead of simply just giving us more free time. This Pomodoro method would work great in a classroom setting for both the teacher and the student when trying to stay on task. Its ability to track and shoot out stats of the user make this a tool useful for self-reflection, as well as making efficient use of the little time and attention span we and this current youth generation are famous for. Thank you.